Okay guys, so I've had a few problems with my trolling motor. I have the Minn Kota Riptide Ulterra, and I'm going to do is replace the trim module as well. This trim module up here, it just simply it wasn't going up and down properly, and I believe that's because of the plunger. The plunger created that problem, I believe, because it was the motor. It was wearing this motor out, trying to close the when it was going into stow mode. So anyways, it was pushing away up in here. It actually cracked this part right here a little bit because it was still pulling it when it got to the stow position. So anyways, what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the trim module, and I'm going to replace the plunger over here like I said, and that should take care of the problem. So what I've done is I have rigged up, as you can see, a lot of people will take the motor off and they'll actually put it on like a tool bench or something. I'm going to leave it in place. I just obviously rigged up a little something here to hold it where it is, and I'm going to go ahead and get everything going. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the top of the motor. I'm going to disconnect that, take that off. That'll allow me to slide that trim module up off. And I also, typically you have to disconnect these here. This is what holds the belt in place. As you can see, my belt actually has broken. So I'm going to take this off. I'm going to take off the top of the trolling motor, so then I can slide that trim module off. The belt will come off with it. And as you can see, I have another trim module with the belt already attached. So anyways, that's what I'm going to do and get started. So just going to take a Phillips bit here. Of course, I'm going to be careful not to lose any of my parts. And then there's a couple of screws here. We got the top here. All I got to do is get this disconnected. Just pops out, and then okay, I got those wires disconnected. And then the last thing that I need to do is disconnect this block here. This is a tensioner block so that I can tighten this after the fact. So just got to grab a Allen key. The only reason that I have to loosen this is because when I put the new belt in, I'm going to need to get the new belt in here. All right, get that out, and we'll get that out. And then you see, we got this little block that holds that in, and now we're good to pull that out. All right. Okay, so at this point, we are good to go ahead and remove the old trim module. So you can just slide this right up. And then I just have to slide the new belt out of the steering module there, and we're all good to go. So there's the old one. It's time to go back with the new one. So I'm going to start by feeding the belt back down through the steering module. Just get this started. You can see it pops right out the bottom. That was nice and smooth, which is good. And then go ahead, feed these wires back through. Okay, perfect. So, as you guys can see, the new trim module is on. Just gonna work it down a little bit more. All right, I'm gonna go ahead, put the top back on. And what I'm going to need to do is make sure that I leave myself enough belt here to get that up. So I'm actually going to take this off. I'm going to bring this module a little bit higher. I'm going to feed the belt through. There we go. And now I'm going to put it back on. Get that. All right, perfect, perfect. So I got the trim module pretty high so that I can get this secured back in the block where it goes. I got my electrical back where it needs to be. So I guess this connection here, I did not have to disconnect, but so we can just pop that back into place. I'm gonna have to just get some heat shrink to make sure that these stay good and clean. Okay, so I'm actually gonna leave the belt for the time being. I'm gonna leave this top of the motor, just kind of sit out of the way. Because the problem is right now, my trim module is in the way. I can't get to the bottom of the here to get that belt tightened in. Because remember, the block that attaches to the belt, it screws in from underneath the top portion of the motor here. So I'm going to leave that undone for the time being. Now I'm going to come down here I'm going to take this off. This is what holds the bottom portion of the belt in place. So you just take these 4 screws out. Okay, and as you can see, got another one of these. This is what actually connects to the belt. You can see it actually locks in right here, and then the belt comes down and goes over that. So I'm going to work this down just a little bit more. We want a full coverage on the belt there. You can see that locks in really good, and that's how we want it. Right there is perfect. I'm just gonna go ahead and screw that back together. So everything is good there, locked in good. It's locked in nice and tight here. So we're gonna go back up top now. What we're gonna do is I'm actually going to repower the motor. I'm going to hold the belt in place, and then I'm going to use the remote control to bring my trim module down and kind of get it to lock in place there. So I'm going to plug the motor back in. Okay, so what I need to do now is I need to hold the power button for 5 seconds. Okay, and then it starts blinking. Okay, so I guess based on the instructions on this, it says that with a flashing green light, which we have right now, it says that it's learned. So it says to now hold and power off the motor and then push the button to turn it back on. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm just trimming up the motor to buy us a little bit of room here. So far, everything looks good here. Trimming up the way it's supposed to. Everything seems fine. We had a good and tight down here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put the top portion of the motor back together. So I'm just going to take this, get this out of the way. I'm going to put this back into position. And then, let's see, just like that. Okay, so I'm gonna take it out and do it again here. So you got this piece, the part that locks in, that goes just like that. And then it just slides right down into the block and locks into place. And then the block goes down under there. And then we gotta find the larger little kind of bolt there. And that tightened up the belt pretty darn good there. So now all I got to do is a couple more things here. Need to attach this back through. This is just a Phillips head bit. That back in place. Okay. And last, I just need to get my wires back where they go here. Okay. Okay. That should be it for that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to push the power button 3 times really quickly. What that's going to do is that is going to reset the motor to the stow position. So it'll pretty much relearn where it needs to be to stow. So it's going to bring the actual propeller all the way up, touch the bottom here, and it's going to drop it down 6 inches. That's the stow position. Okay, so now it's reset. You see it dropped back down 6 inches. It's back in the stow position.